Hey scrapbookers, I'm Trisha at Club Scrap, and this is another edition of our efficient scrapbooking method using the beautiful Enchanted Forest Remix. Now, remix simply means we've done this collection before and it was so popular that we're going to do it again. In fact, this is the Remix 2.0, our second remix of this gorgeous collection that was originally released at a retreat several years ago. So the kit contains a beautiful ribbon. Normally we have 3, but we did add this nice little jute as well to the mix. We got 4 fibers here. Some really fun bronze charms, including this adorable mushroom. It's kind of big, isn't he? And then 2 of these really cute bronze magic wands, and then 3 tiny little fairies. I think those are so cute. Okay, then, oh, I just got so excited when I found these. Look at these. It's like a chiffon wing. It's like a dragonfly wing. Aren't they neat? And I believe that these probably were designed for jewelry making, like maybe for a pair of earrings or something. But I did include 4 of them in the collection. So if you want to be using these, if you happen to have like a little gold miniature brad, those are ideal for adhering the little wings. I didn't include the brads, not realizing I'd want them, but most people have those in their stash. Then 4 glassine bags. These have just reminded me kind of wings, so of the material itself. So maybe you could even open up the bags and die cut them if you wanted to, otherwise use them as I suggest in the assembly. So I have the instructions, the rest of the paper in the collection, the Fisker's guillotine trimmer. This is the must to be successful, I believe, with this method of mine, as well as the accordion pocket file, which has 4 pockets. We'll trim everything needed for all 8 pages at the same time and file all the materials into one of 4 pockets. So if you don't have this, reach out to Club Scrap. We can help you make one. Otherwise, maintain 4 separate piles and hopefully you have a larger workspace to work with. Okay, so as is our normal procedure, we'll place the papers that we have in the order in which we'll be using them. So let's begin with what I'm calling the fiddlehead print. Isn't this one adorable? Has a little wand across the top. It's a little pixie dust here. I'm going to put that face down on my work surface, followed by this beautiful forest print. Always my favorite from the entire collection. Next, let's find 2 metallic gold plain papers. So they are metallic gold on both sides, and then you want to grab both of those, followed by 2 red 12 by 12s. I'm just putting these all in my trimmer here while I hold the balance of the paper in my arm. Then find 1 brown and then 1 dark green. Okay, followed by a sheet of cut-aparts. This one has 2 narrow strips on the right, and then this let's take our hearts for a walk in the woods. That's in the middle there. I'm going to put that face down. And then this next one, it has Live, Love, Sparkle. That's the last cut apart in your set. Continuing on, we will find 1 brown plain, and then the other fiddlehead print. So those are fiddleheads down there in case you didn't know. I didn't always know that information. Then 2 light green. These are the light green in this kit is kind of like an olive shade. It's really a warm green. Then 2 manila. This is a super heavyweight paper. Very lovely. Then the remaining dark green and the final forest print. Put that face down and then take the whole stack and put it right side up again. So that's everything we needed from front to back now. For this fiddlehead print, we're going to place it right side up into the trimmer. So that just means that one should be in the upper left corner. And we'll start out by trimming just at 8. Now, if you're a beginner, just be careful that you don't trim at 8 centimeters. We're doing 8 inches. So trim at 8 inches. And then slide down to 4 1/4. Okay, that's all the trimming for that entire piece. So this first piece with the wand on it, that's going to go in pocket 3 and 4. Then this middle section goes in pocket 7 and 8. And then again, this other outer section is in pocket 3 and 4. That's all there is to it for that print. Moving on to the forest print. And for this one, we're going to place it into the trimmer so that this little fairy is in the lower right corner. And we'll cut at 7 1/2 and 3 3/4. All right, we'll take this strip and place it in pocket 5 and 6. And then this one was just this middle section that goes in 1 and 2. And then here we have the base with the fairy that also goes in 5 and 6. And then we're going to pick up just one piece of that metallic gold paper. So it's a little bit lighter weight than the others, so just make sure that you only have one. And we will begin trimming at 11 and a half, then 11, slide down to 9, and 5. Okay, now rotate the 5 by 12. We'll trim at 11 and a quarter, 7 and a half, 3 and 3/4. Gather up the 3 rectangles that you just created. These are all the same size, and place them in pocket 1 and 2. And you did create a small scrap in the process. The next piece is a 4 by 12. We're just going to trim it in half, so that's easy. We're going to trim at 6. Both of these rectangles will be used in layouts 1 and 2. Then you have this wider border strip that goes in 3 and 4. And then you should have 2 really skinny little pieces. Those are in 5 and 6. Now, as you're getting the other metallic gold paper out, just a reminder that if you're new to us at Club Scrap, feel free to press on the gear button in the lower right corner of your YouTube playback screen, and you can adjust your playback speed to something a little slower that might be more approachable for you, so you don't have to use pause quite as often. I do that when I'm taking my Spanish lessons. I always have to listen to the slow mode to understand what's being said, but I'm getting better, so that's the key. All right, this one we're going to trim at 6 1/4. And then rotate and cut at 11 and a half and 9. So this larger piece will be placed in pocket 3 and 4. And then we have this little 2.5-inch strip. We're going to trim this one horizontally at 6. And then this also goes in pocket 3 and 4. We did create a tiny little scrap. The next, oh, and there is actually another scrap here as well. Okay, now this next strip, this is 5 3/4 by 12. We're going to trim at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. Okay, so all 3 of these plus this strip are used on layouts 7 and 8. So that small piece was not a scrap. Now take just one piece of the 12 by 12 red. We'll trim at 11 3/4. And 6 1/4. Then rotate. We're going to trim at 11 1/4, 8 1/2, 4 1/4. And you just made 2 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 photo mats. Both of these are used in layout 5 and 6. This narrow strip is actually trimmed to fit perfectly into the glassine bag. So if you decide to do something else with the glassine bags, then you can slide this right into the bag. It fits perfectly. And that goes in layout 1 and 2. And this strip is a scrap. The next larger chunk will trim horizontally at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. Then gather up the 3 rectangles that are the same, and they're all going to go in pocket 5 and 6. And we have a scrap again, and then this narrow strip will be used in layout 3 and 4. Take the next sheet of red, and we'll cut at 11, 10, 8 1/4, and 4 1/4. Rotate the 4 1/4. We'll trim at 9 3/4, 6 1/4. Gather up all of the pieces that came off of that strip. All 3 of them are used in layout 1 and 2. Then take the next 4 by 12. We're going to cut at some nice even numbers here, kind of whole numbers. So we'll start out at 10, and then 7, and 4. Then let's gather up what we made here. We've got a larger square and then like a medium-sized rectangle. They're going to be used in layouts 5 and 6. Then this other medium rectangle, that's 3 and 4. And you have a small rectangle that we're going to trim in half at 2. Gather up the 2 little pieces, and those are used in pocket 5 and 6. Then you have this wider strip, 3 and 4, and then 2 skinny strips. Both of them are used in layouts 1 and 2. Moving on to the brown. So grab your brown piece. This is a really beautiful stock. We're going to cut at 11, 10, 9 3/4, 9 1/2, and 6 1/4. Wow, that was a lot of cuts. Rotate, and we'll trim at 11 1/4, 8 1/2, and 4 1/4. Okay, so now you do have 2 pieces that are the same, 7 and 8. You have the narrow piece that fits in the bag, that's 5 and 6. Then you have this narrow piece, also 5 and 6. Pick up the next wider strip, and it's not all that wide, it's 3 1/4 by 12. We'll cut at 9 3/4, 6 1/2, 3 1/4. Okay, so I'm hoping, and yes, you made 3 pieces that are the same. There's one more skinnier one. So the 3 that are the same, pocket 7 and 8. This last rectangle, we're going to trim at 2 1/2. And deposit that in pocket 5 and 6, followed by this tiny little scrap, which you can set aside. Didn't use that. And then you have 2 really skinny strips. Those go in pocket 5 and 6. And then the 2 1-inch strips are used in pocket 3 and 4. Hang in there with me. We're almost done with all this trimming. Okay, we'll cut the green at 9 1/2. This is the dark green. It almost looks black on the pictures. And then 6 1/4. It's a really beautiful shade of dark green. Rotate, we're going to kind of repeat this again. 11 1/4, 8 1/2, 4 1/4. We're going to gather up the 2 photo mats and then the skinny strip that fits in the bag and put it all in pocket 3 and 4. And then this guy goes in 1 and 2. The next strip in this stack, 8 1/2 and 5. The 5-inch piece and one of these almost squares will be used in pocket 3 and 4. And the last piece there is 1 and 2. On this strip, we'll go 9 1/4, 6 1/2, 3 3/4. So this larger rectangle, believe it or not, is in 5 and 6. And then you made 3 that are the same size. These are squares going, almost square, going into pocket 3 and 4. And we've arrived at the cut-aparts. So to get the cut-aparts ready to trim, we will take a look at the corner. Do you see how there's a plus sign there? Those are registration or cutting guides. So I want to align the edge of this gray line with the edge of my trimming blade on my paper trimmer. And because I'm using this Fisker style trimmer, I can see the edge of that blade somewhat. But if it's your first cut, you could just err on the side of generous and then go back and make one final adjustment on that first cut to get it nice and accurate. So I'm just trimming all 4 sides, approximately 1/8 of an inch off of the edge of this paper. And that helps us get a more accurate cut in the long run. Now when I'm at that last cut, I can just make sure I'm at 12 on my reading. And you can get rid of all the little scraps that you removed. And now we'll begin with the regular trimming process and let all the pieces pile up. We'll file them together. Our first cut is at 11 1/4. And if you just want to double check that you have the paper positioned, it should be right set up and go right through between the layer, the artwork elements here. And then 10 1/2, Slide down to 7 3/4 and finish off at 4. Then rotate and we'll cut at 10 and 6. So this piece goes in pocket 1 and 2. Got a home for all of the cut aparts here. This next one, 3 and 4. And then the red one, Make-A-Wish, 1 and 2. Okay, this next strip we'll trim at 10, 8, and 3 3/4. All right, this piece with the hearts goes in pocket 5 and 6. And then this one with the fairy, 3 and 4. If you keep on believing, 1 and 2. And then this final piece, let's put it in the trimmer and just trim at 2 1/4. So this piece goes in pocket 5 and 6, and this dark green one, that goes in 3 and 4. The next strip, almost done. We'll trim horizontally at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, and 3 3/4. Okay, let's file these, the 3 fairies, 3 and 4. A vertical journaling prompt for 5 and 6. A horizontal journaling prompt for 3 and 4. And live your fairy tale, that goes in 3 and 4. Also, for these little border strips, they both go in 1 and 2. One more cut apart to go. So we need to trim, again, the edges. I'm going to take the perimeter off of this whole thing in alignment with those registration guides. Okay, make sure that the word magic is up here and reading correctly. And our first cut's going to be at 11, 10 1/4, 9 1/2. Okay, I apologize. There was a little slip of the measurement here, so we're going to end up at around 7 7/8 to get this one perfectly correct. So 7 7/8 lands between 7 3/4 and 8. It's just that one cut. Okay, and then we're moving on to Happy Land again. All right, we got 5 3/4 and 3. Almost done here. We'll trim horizontally at 9, 6, and 3. With these, there are 3 of them that aren't red. Those are used in pockets 7 and 8, and the red one goes in 5 and 6. The tag, we're going to trim this at 7 3/4, and both of these pieces are used in layout 7 and 8. The rest are border strips. I'm going to try to pick them all up. We'll use this one in 7 and 8. Live, Love, Sparkle, 3 and 4. The 2 starry strips, that's 3 and 4 also. And those that don't believe in magic will never find it. That's 5 and 6. Okay, everything has been trimmed. Our scrap pile consists of just these little strips. So that's not too bad. And I'm sure you could have probably found, I know I could have found a home for all of them, but we'll keep it simple. These can go in the circular file if you'd like, or, if you want to save them for a project, more power to you. I'm going to support my accordion pocket file while I get rid of my trimmer. There's one other thing I forgot to tell you to trim. If you want to take one of the bags and you can just put it vertically into the trimmer so that the seam is at the bottom and facing away from you, you can just trim off the seam on that edge and then rotate and trim off the bottom seam. And then that will allow you to open the bag. Okay, and I used it that way on, I think it was layout 7 and 8, but we'll get to that. Either way, if your trimmer is still out, you can take care of that. Okay, now our project is to do what I call the dry fit. That means assembling these pages without adhesive, just to make sure everything's been trimmed and fits properly and that you don't need to make any corrections or rearrangements. So if you just take the entire stack of the remaining papers that you have and put them left of the center of your work surface and then slide the top sheet over, what that does is sets us up with the base for layouts 7 and 8. And we're going to work our way backwards to layout 1 so that number 1's on the top. And when you're ready to assemble your pages, you can work from 1 to 8. I'm removing the contents of pockets 7 and 8 here. And what I have found to be the easiest thing to do, if you have the, the dexterity. I know some people just, their hand strength, it doesn't manage well with this, and that's okay. It's just kind of like when I do my workout and the instructor says, everyone's body is different. So I understand if you need to take it slower or you aren't able to hold it in your hand like this. But I usually like to start it with the larger pieces. I'm going to take this piece of the print and put it along the right edge of layout 8. Speaking of layouts, I'm looking at page 5 of my instruction at layout 7 and 8 here at the bottom. Then next to that piece I just added is the fiddle head, and I realize you can position this either this way or this way. The fiddle heads just come from both edges, so it's just personal preference on that. Okay, then I did use the open bag that I just placed it right here because the tag sort of fits on top of it kind of in a cool way. And then I have 2 vertical brown photo mats. Now underneath here, I used that gold scrap going across here, and I also added a length of this pretty metallic edged ribbon going like nesting on top of that strip and wrapping around to the back, just so that you know what's going on there, because it might be a little bit hard to tell. And then sort of hiding the edge of this, I've got this cut apart. Now on the remainder of the right side here, I've got 3 perfectly sized, yes, they are perfect. I love it when that happens. 3 perfectly sized metallic gold mats. And then here I've got 3 brown nested with just Wing It, a journaling prompt, and the mushroom cut apart. Now to embellish each one of these little cut aparts, I took a piece of this green ribbon. It's a nice satin. And then I made just a small, just trying to get the grain direction here, a small loop out of a 2-inch piece. And just have it peeking out a little bit to the left side, and then tape the uneven ends on the back. And then you can attach this to your nest. It just gives it just a little touch of ribbon there. Is really nice. Now to look at the finished page, you can see how the ribbons have been added. Now look, check this out. This is those really cool wings that I found. So there is a hole in the wing right at the base, and again, I think this is probably so you can make earrings or something out of them, and you could do that too. If you line up the little hole, which you probably can't even see on camera, just shove a brad through it, then pierce the hole wherever you want to place the wing, and then just set the wings in there. I think, well, I did it to the cut apart before I added it to the layout, but that is such a cool, oh, I just love it. Okay, that's page 8, and then page 7, I added another set of those wings in the same fashion. And here I just punched a hole in the top of the tag after I clipped the corners, wrap 1 piece of ribbon around to the back, then tie a basic bow and add it to the top of the tag. Great effect there. And I used our classic bookbinding glue from a needle tip applicator to attach the wand. Here you can see the ribbon just wrapping around to the back on top of this, what would have been a scrap. And the open bag is sort of in the background here, kind of looking cool. Just adding a little bit of a different background to the area. That's layout 7 and 8. So what we can do now is slide 7 only on top of 8. And then take 1 more sheet and slide. Turn to your accordion pocket file in 5 and 6. We'll grab everything out, and again, if possible, hold it in the palm of your hand. Range so you can see everything pretty well. And I can tell right away that these larger printed pieces get distributed. So this one goes up top, and then the bottom goes on the bottom left here. And I usually like to add a little separator, so I'm going to go with this metallic gold 1/2-inch strip nested with, believe it or not, this 1/4-inch brown strip. It just adds a nice lovely edging here. And I use bookbinding glue to attach the 1/4-inch pieces. That's a nice, easy way to dispense glue to a small area. Then you have your heading here, and we should have a set of 3 red pieces that fit Oh, look at that. What do you know? They fit to a T. Right across the top there. Now, on this side, we're going to go with the larger, got a lot of reds here. I'm going to get rid of the big ones. The larger red, tilted and overlapping slightly. Now, I did choose to nest the journaling prompt here, and you can just tuck that right behind there. Now, on the left, there should be a large red square that you can nest with let's take our hearts for a walk in the woods. Love that. And then 2 little squares next to this one. Now, I did a lot of stuff here in the upper corner. First of all, what I did with this rescued scrap is just cut a V into the bottom and top. I do this every now and then, and this is kind of like nice if you would want like something like a touch of ribbon. I could have even nested this with some ribbon too. That would have been nice. And I did use this to add a little interest kind of behind this journaling prompt here. Then on this piece, I did call for a corner chomper in your supply list if you happen to have one. In fact, we just got a shipment of corner chompers in. So if you've been lacking or you want one of these, now's the time to pick one up at Club Scrap. And you can slide this into the glassine bag. So you can use this for maybe private journaling or just kind of a fun way to add something to your page. Staple some ribbon, fold the ribbon across the top. That's going to go up here. I don't want to get too tricky, but what I did here was took this little cut apart and nested it on the brown, then laid it onto the green and wrapped this free edge with some ribbon, and then overlaid it with this cut apart just to build a little something. And on top of this, I used some jute to attach the cute little charm. So finishing layout review here, you can see the stapled ribbon. Isn't that nice? Here's the red metallic ribbon added in this spot. Stapled an additional piece of ribbon onto the journaling prompt and then finished it with the charm. You can see how cool that looks in the background as well. On layout 5, nothing fancy here, just adhere everything. And as always, I used my rusty, trusty 3x14 grid ruler to help make sure everything was evenly spaced and level here at the top. And the bottom just kind of helps. It just kind of does it on its own. All right, moving on now, we'll take the base of layout 5 and slide it over. And then bring over 1 sheet of the manila here. This is that gorgeous, super heavyweight paper. It's 100 and some pound cover weight. And then, that's a little big to hold in my hand. I'll grab everything out of pocket 3 and 4, and I'll need to turn in my instructions to page 2. No, this is page 4 of my instructions, looking at the bottom image, layout 3 and 4. And I'm going to start out by placing this large gold piece right here. And next to it, I'll take this fiddlehead print that has the wand. Then the other portion of the fiddlehead print goes on the left edge flush. Next to that, I'm going to add 1 brown strip nested with one of these starry strips. That's good. Lovely. Across the top, you can nest gold, followed by red, followed by Live, Love, Sparkle. And this is going to be a really tiny reveal, about a 1/16 of an inch there on the Live, Love, Sparkle. Okay, then going across, we'll take our 2 dark green mats horizontally. Adjust the height where needed. And that fits so nice. How about a cut apart? Now, if you have a lot of pictures from an event, put them right on top of the cut aparts. These are just designed to help finish a layout if you're shy on pictures. And then you can add this guy right here, the dark green rectangle, and then put the charm on top of him. So lovely. Okay, I did something kind of fun with all of these green pieces. I did like a little pieced collage, and if you have larger photos and want to keep them that way, just plop them right on top of all of these smaller pieces. But check out how this fits, just like a puzzle, into this 9 by 6.5-ish piece. I can't remember what size it is. It's 9 something. Okay, then the brown strip across the bottom with the sparkle, and then below that, might as well use the red. I'm just kind of carrying it over, as well as a nested journaling prompt horizontally here. Now, the green and the gold should nest together. You can adhere them and then staple some ribbon onto the top, and they should fit beautifully right into the glassine bag, and that goes vertically here. Add this guy, and if you want to pop dot him, that's kind of nice. Finishing touches. Here we go, the stapled ribbon and the nested piece. Stapled a little piece of the metallic edge ribbon here, and then triple wrap this with the jute and tied on the cute little charm. I thought I had used the jute on the previous page, but I was mistaken. Okay, then on the left side of this layout, I did what's kind of a new to me trick, is just punch a hole to the left and right of the text on a title strip, thread it with ribbon, and wrap it around to the back. It just gives it a really nice look. And then I tied some jute onto the top of that adorable mushroom. Here you can see how I added that beautiful, realistic looking wing to this cut apart. Again, if you plan to use photos in this spot, then save this for something else. To get down to layouts 1 and 2, we'll slide this over, just one sheet, and then one more to sit on top of that, and that gives us what we need for layout 1 and 2. Pull everything out of pocket 1 and 2. Make sure you got it all. You wouldn't believe when I teach live classes how many pieces are left behind in those pockets. That's the only caveat. Okay, so here I'm going to add the strip of the trees from this print. It's actually this section, you know, it's kind of cool. I guess it goes this way. Doesn't really matter. And we can flank that above and below with a red strip nested with this really fun printed strip here. Now adjust the height to accommodate a row of 3 gold pieces. So those will fit beautifully side by side, like film strip style, and this will fit directly above that. Then on the left side, we'll have 2 horizontal metallic gold mats. And then this last one, when someone told me I lived in a fantasy land, this quote right here should nest with the red. Now there's a little bit of a larger red nested with green. There's a little excess edge here. I'm going to tuck this behind it. Did a fun ribbon trick there. I'll show you in a moment. Oh, I didn't mention on the other one. I think I added it to the tag, but here's where I put the other bronze piece. Make-A-Wish, and that has its own little red nesting guy. Oh, I did the same trick again here where I cut the V into this piece. And I think I just cut it a little bit smaller to accommodate where I wanted it to fit. The red, you can staple some ribbon onto it and slide it into a bag. If you want to round the corners, by all means. Make it look more like a tag. And this kind of can sit on top of it, and this on top of that. And you can even add the cute little fairy, and then that goes across the bottom of the page here. Finishing touches on the last spread. Here we go. Oh, this turned out kind of cool. I just punched a hole here and here in that strip and then threaded a piece of ribbon through each one and taped it on the back. Easy as pie. This is attached again with our bookbinding glue. On the other layout, one more set of wings attached right over here with the brad, same technique. And then you can see how I fit all this in. I thought she was really sweet just by that wand right there with the stapled ribbon on the tag inside. Wow, I think this is truly a record. I have been, without really stopping for my own personal errors that I'll go and take out later, I have 37 minutes of raw footage here. So this video takes us up, it's gonna probably end up being about 35 minutes of just kind of smooth sailing here with this beautiful Enchanted Forest kit. I think the kit kind of is enchanted. It came together beautifully. I hope you love these pages as much as you did back when we released this for the first and the second time. So enjoy the Enchanted Forest remix, and I look forward to seeing you on our next workshop together.